Good evening. Welcome to Capital City View. I'm your host, Shawn Arena. Today we have the fourth part of the Hartford Mayoral Series. With me is Hartford Democratic candidate and activist Stan McCauley. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for the invitation.
I've been following your shows. I've been following your campaign this past year, all of the different places you've been, all the people that you've been speaking to. Tell me what it's like. How are you feeling at this point?
I am extremely encouraged. I've been well received. The opportunity to speak to people around the city is always one that I relish. I like to be able to communicate with people, hear what's on their mind, hear what they have to say, and just being out there listening to them it's always encouraging.
Tell me a little bit about your past experiences in Hartford and what brought you to the decision for running for mayor.
Well, let's see. I came here when I was 19 years old to work at Pratt & Whitney, and at some point in the first 8.5 years there, I decided, I heard the salient voice, and I left Pratt to do full-time ministry. And then that led to being out of work, if you will, for 3 months, because as a minister I never received a salary. And then I wound up at the Public Access Channel. The executive director at the time was Mike Alberson, I think, but shortly thereafter Jerry Clappis became the executive director, and he was the longtime executive director here at the station. And he gave me a job, part-time, which led to full-time. And I started really getting involved in public access and started doing a program. 20 years later, I wind up having run off at the mouth about what's wrong with Hartford. Mm-hmm. This is wrong, that's wrong. People need to do this, people need to do that, people need to do this. Well, why don't they do that? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? And then at some point, you become part of the problem. What are you doing? Yeah. What am I doing? And it became abundantly clear that as long as I'm running my mouth and not contributing toward the solution, I'm worse than the problem. And I started getting involved politically, and here we are now.
I see you at quite a few council meetings. I'm speaking up always for the issues of that are your passion. Why is, in your mind, do we not stay with the present administration, the status quo, and why do we go to a Stan McCauley administration?
Well, as I have been quoted saying, we have malfeasance, nonfeasance, misfeasance, and stupidity. I don't say that to be mean, but it's my observation. And as such, we need to have what I consider a clean sweep. We need a council that's totally new, with new ideas, new vision, and an ability to move us beyond the stick in the mud syndrome. If we don't do that, I don't see the future of Hartford being very bright, because companies that would like to relocate to Hartford see the mess of the past administration. Irrespective of any good that the last administration may have done, the cloud is over them. And so, in that we have a custodial mayor and the same infrastructure, nothing really has changed. If that remains, still nothing changes. So in my never-to-be-humble opinion, we need a clean sweep. We need a new administration. We need a new top to bottom. That doesn't mean change for change's sake. It means putting in the mechanisms that are going to be necessary to make Hartford vibrant, viable, and attractive to companies that want to come to Hartford, because ultimately those companies are going to be bringing opportunities for jobs, and those companies are going to be bringing their wealth, which is going to add to our grand list.
This past year, almost all of the administrator positions or assistant administrators have come from outside of Hartford. Do you feel, within the 125,000 people that live in Hartford, that there are people capable of holding these positions?
It would seem to me logical that there should be people that live in the city that can hold these positions. I know that in my 4 years of campaigning around the city, that I've come across people who are extremely bright, extremely energetic, and have vision, and I think they would be tremendous assets to the city. The problem is that they feel that nobody wants them. They feel that their voice would not matter. I believe that that may have been the case in the past, But I think as we go forward, once again, I've called for clean sweep. We're replacing everybody. I will most certainly look at individuals who are, Hartford residents. But that's not to limit the opportunity for great employees in leadership positions in terms of department heads only to Hartford residents. What I'm saying is that if you're going to work in my administration, you will become a Hartford resident. And residency is a prerequisite, and it is also a condition of employment. So if you decide you want to move, then you're ultimately saying you want to resign.
Leave the job.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you're saying then that any people that come for hire, that they would be told, you need to be a resident, you need to show me a contract of sale, a lease, saying that you will be a resident by the time you start this job or within a short period of time, 30, 60, 90 days?
If you can survive not getting paid for the first 60 days, that's fine with me.
So
you're not going to collect a paycheck until you're a resident. I'll come over to the house and eat. And it's difficult to serve dinner down in the meadows.
Very true.
You got a little, but that's a nice little apartment you got. Where's the little furniture? And they living in the mailbox.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a lot of times, the jobs that are filled, they're given to the city council to vote on after they've already been filled. Mm-hmm. Would you, as mayor, present the person to be vetted by the city council, let them vote them up or down before that person actually serves the position?
I think that that's only reasonable. I mean, it's done at the federal level.
That's
and
right.
My administration will be modeled after the federal level, where department heads are more, at least in our way that I want to manage, more like the cabinet, if you will. Mm-hmm. Their job is to help me implement the will of the people. I see them as extensions of me. If I could do it all, I would, but I can't. And I'm not expected to be all things to all people. That's why we have this individual working there. Now, while I may say they're great, there are 9 representatives of the people. Government is meant to be slow and cumbersome so that you can have checks and balances, so that there is no dictator, if you will. And so those 9 individuals are the policy-making body of our government. They're the legislative branch of our government. And they have the ability to, call into question certain things. They can have hearings. And as such, if there's going to be a functioning government, one might think that the people who are charged with executing their policies, they have a relationship with. At the very least, they should be able to question them, vet them, given up or down. If it's a down vote, I'm not hiring people because they're my friends. I'm hiring people because they're the best people for the job. So if somebody's, let's say, an administrator for an international airport, and I'm going to have him be my chief of operations, and he doesn't get the upvote, well, to me, it's not personal. Well, I'll find another person who can do it. Now, at some point, this could get exhausting. Mm-hmm. If the city is going to be impacted in a negative way because 2 or 3 candidates have been voted down and it becomes clear that the down vote has nothing to do with their qualifications, then that's when you move into that, all right, I'm going to put them through and now. And I think the federal level, it gives you that same kind of...
to give you some kind of leeway.
Right, but most certainly we're not going to ram down the throats of the citizens of Hartford. Individuals that are going to be working on their behalf.
This past winter, we had probably one of the worst winters we've had probably in memory for either one of us. Yet we were short 17 positions in the Department of Public Works, which still to this day have not been filled. As mayor, would you have made sure that those positions were filled prior or immediately during that period so we didn't go through what we went through this past winter?
Well, I would like to say yes. The truth of the matter is I don't know, because I don't know what those positions were in terms of operational, criteria as those positions have been approved. But most certainly, if there's a budget, as a budgetary item, if the money is set aside for 17 individuals and the money is not being spent, well, I think the snows that we had were of a nature that the previous mayor, the current mayor, declared a citywide state of emergency. So it seems to me you might want to move some of these 17 people into position. I think, though, that what we saw was an incompetent removal of the snow, and I'm not so sure that extra people would have made the difference. The original way in which the snow was removed was what was in error, and then it was compounded by the continued rate of the snowfall. And to me, the department head has to bear that responsibility, because the streets were never plowed, right? They weren't plowed curb to curb throughout the whole city.
No, they weren't. There's
And
one way roads
right.
to get through.
And that's where the problem came. And that's when I talk about malfeasance, nonfeasance, misfeasance, and stupidity. And I don't mean stupidity as a derogatory, mean-spirited slur. I mean it in terms of an economic sense. Anytime you cause loss to yourself and someone else, that's what I'm talking about in terms of stupidity, not one's intellectual capacity.
Thank you. I want to ask you a couple other questions to go into that. I want to just touch on the snow one more time.
Mm-hmm.
This past winter, I think we could have probably partnered with some of the private companies and brought more bodies in, putting more people to work in the city. I brought this up at a council meeting, and I was almost got the look of a deer in a headlight of hiring private companies to come in, working with them so you'd give people that live in the city neighborhoods the chance of a job also. Would you work with public-private sectors this way to bring in more residents?
I think that the only way you're really going to be, when you say bring in more residents, you mean give more residents opportunities.
Jobs. Yes, I'm sorry, I meant to say that.
Well, I'm of the mindset that the private sector hires.
Yeah.
The private sector creates jobs.
That's
I don't
right.
want to sound too conservative, but government has a responsibility of providing service. Providing that service means you hire people. But real jobs come from the private sector. Here's an opportunity to bring in private sector people. Clearly, it's exceeding our capacity to remove the snow or anything else. So why can't we partner with them, give some of our young people opportunities to work during this moment of crisis and take advantage of that? Who knows? Maybe there may have been a pickup of some skills by our residents who in the upcoming winters might take that up as perhaps a vocation or an occupation.
I'm here with J. Stan McCauley, candidate for mayor of Hartford. We'll be back in a moment.
Who's Hartford's recycling hero? You are. Use your blue card and earn coupons and discounts for recycling by signing up for a Recycle Bank account. Or take your recycling to Hartford's free recycling center today.
Step up and get your vote on. If you don't, your future's gone.
To the next brother who may be out to smother the issues you no doubt want covered.
So it's time for you to decide who's in control. It's all about pride.
Responsibility, it's up to you.
Let your voice be heard. You got the power to
Check it. Don't wreck it. Vote.
Don't wreck it.
Welcome back. I'm here with candidate for mayor, J. Stan McCauley. Thank you for your time so far today. It goes by very fast. We've talked a little bit about neighborhood issues. I want to talk to you about the mill rate in Hartford. Mm-hmm. This past May, the mayor and the city council stood together and touted how wonderful it is that we have 72.29 mill rate when East Hartford has a 33, West Hartford has a 38, New Haven has a 43, Stamford has a 17. How wonderful is 72.29 mill rate?
Well, it's not wonderful at all, particularly since your car doesn't qualify for that little game that they play, in that we're only going to tax it, and therefore you're only really at 23%, and all this other stuff. All those numbers don't help, particularly if you're a company looking to relocate. Well, let's go to the capital city of Connecticut. It's old Yankee country, and it's the richest or third richest state in the nation. And maybe we can go downtown Hartford. I was looking at it online the other day, and they're smoking long cigars in those cherry wood halls. And he said, "So, well, your mill rate there is 72 point." I said, "What? That's the mill rate? You're joking, right?" "No, that's the mill rate." "Oh, well, what else is there?" "Well, there's Greenwich." I mean, and that's it. It's a conversation killer. Yeah. And when people are thinking of coming to your city, they can go anywhere in the country. Now they can go anywhere in the world.
Yes, they can.
What are we doing to make Hartford attractive? The mill rate is absurdly high, but then we've lost about $2 billion worth of our grand list. And as such, as companies exit Hartford and the taxable revenue that we can glean from these companies that are here with the grand list decreasing, the only way to compensate for it is to raise the mill rate. So the high mill rate is a combination of real property values declining because companies are leaving, and trying to compensate for that decline by raising it, because you still have to pay your bills. And I think that we have to stop this notion of let's fight over crumbs. We need to bring new resources into the city.
I've spoken to a couple of the Hartford delegation from the state reps about the new tax issue that was for the state. Mm-hmm. And we have reval, of course, coming up this October.
Yes.
We have a possibility of an 18% increase in our tax bills for the next 5 years. 90% increase that no one is talking about.
It's like the pink elephant in the room. No one wants to talk about it because their talking about it won't make it go away. What we need to do is have the conversation, and the conversation needs to be elevated in terms of urgency. And the solution to this, I believe, is a full-scale attack on the lack of businesses in Hartford. We have got to raise the grand list. That is the only solution, because at some point the reval has to happen, and we have to be paying the 70% that we're supposed to be paying. It's artificially being kept low through legislation. That cannot continue ad nauseum, because it is detrimental to us in the long run, as we're seeing now. This went in, I think, like 1989 or something like that. Yeah. And so now we're suffering as it ultimately will be pushed off. But if you're a major corporation, you've had a surcharge. So there's the 72 mills plus the surcharge. Now, why should you be paying the high rate plus a surcharge? I mean, unless you're somebody like Aetna, who, grew out of the dirt of the founding fathers. Why would you stay here?
Yeah.
Other than a romantic attachment to the land and the area. But, if it costs as much to have an employee in Connecticut as it does Midtown Manhattan, in changing economic times as we have now, being born out of the dirt of the founding fathers is not going to be enough to keep you here when your board of directors and your shareholders are saying, what's up with the profits? We have headquarters and major operating branches around the world. Why are we here in Hartford? Because the hourglasses are on Albany Avenue, are on Asylum Avenue?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not enough to keep you here.
Would you set up some kind of program to help the police, firemen, teachers, being able to purchase a home and have to stay in that home, to give them some kind of incentives? But I mean, for a 20-year period, not just a 5-year or 10, but the full 20-year of the mortgage. Would you try to figure out some kind of a way to economically do this, maybe with businesses and public and private, to keep these people in the city?
Well, I think that great minds can sit down and we can come up with a really innovative and a really great plan. And if we bring individuals to the table, such as City Council, obviously the mayor, economic development, and also, since the union's going to be involved, bring some union leadership here, as well as some of the mainline individuals, teachers, fire officers, and police officers. And we can come up with some really good ideas. Now, I say that to say this. I have a plan, and I think my plan is great. But it isn't my way or the highway. We have a democracy. And I'd be willing and more than open to hearing other people's input. But the plan that I have takes individuals who are returning to the city because they've been, they've served their time. So they're re-entering into the society. What we do is we take abandoned properties or blighted properties, and we give, different crews of people 2 houses to rehabilitate. They rehab one, it goes to the city. They rehab the other, it goes to them. They sell it, and the profit thereof they get to keep. They are investing in the community. They have an economic interest in the community. It starts to fight crime in the community. Generally speaking, these individuals have a rapport and a relationship with some of the criminal element in the community because they just came back from serving time. And suddenly the word is out, do not break the windows in this house. Billy Bob and Johnny fix that house up. Yeah. They have an investment there. And so the profit is the motive that keeps them there. The other house goes to the city specifically to, as an incentive to a police officer or a teacher or a fire person to be vested in the community. Because if you've got your public safety officers and your teachers living in the community, they become part of that fabric.
That's right.
And that's essential if you're going to talk about, community policing, long-term strategies for community revitalization. All of these elements are vital.
How do we talk to the young children, the young youth of Hartford? I go around the city and I hear these stories about they hope to live to be 21. We've had 17 homicides so far in this year, and these children hope to live to be 21. I can't comprehend it when I hear them tell me these stories.
It is sad that there is such hopelessness here in the city of Hartford, and ultimately, it may sound simplistic, but once again, we're back to jobs and economic development. The reason we have these homicides is multifold, but at the core is an underground economy or the drug industry.
Yeah.
And it brings so much money into the region that it's almost winked away, or there's a red light district, if you will. And until we are willing to address that, we're not going to be able to push this element of reckless loss of life back, because people don't know how to resolve conflict. The conflict is over territory and profit, and that's compounded with deep social economic problems that you would have in a city such as Hartford. When I say such as Hartford, I mean being the 4th poorest city in the United States. And so we have the stereotypical problems that are associated with a poor city. Hartford camouflages its poverty very, very well, but it's the 4th poorest city in the United States. And as such, we are suffering the problems of poor cities. And jobs is going to be key to that. If you can give people jobs, they'll begin to have hope, because everyone out there that's selling drugs doesn't want to be a gangster. The fact of the matter is they're not gangsters. They're wannabe gangsters. And if you took half of the quote-unquote semi-gangsters in Hartford and put them in Watts or North Philadelphia or on the south side of Chicago, they'd come home on the first Greyhound bus.
They wouldn't be able to deal with it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. January 1st is like 6 months away. What would a McCauley administration look like from January 1st on?
Well, McCauley administration is going to look like an administration that is lean, mean, and green. We're going to be extremely focused. Our main objective is going to be, how do we make Hartford one of the top 10 small cities in the United States? We know that that's only going to come about because jobs are coming to Hartford. And so there has to be a signal that is sent around the world. Hartford is open for business. There's one-stop shopping. If you come here, we're going to treat you like guests that are employing the citizens of the city of Hartford. And there's going to be a clean sweep. Everyone that serves at the pleasure of the mayor will be receiving a letter thanking them for their tenure and their time and well wishes. But I believe that just like the presidential administration changes, you have to change the infrastructure that helps you move your vision forward. Because the electorate has said, we're going to vote for J. Stan McCauley. That means that the vision that he has in executing the policies that the city council gives him need to go forward unhindered. Well, you can't go to war with another man's generals. And Hartford is famous for that. You put somebody in place, but you don't change the infrastructure, and then you wonder why nothing happened.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's got to be done. My administration will do that because that's what the people of Hartford obviously want.
And so you feel that we need a complete new administration from the mayor straight through the council. Every position needs to be changed.
From mayor to council, every position should be changed. It's not personal. It's just the way it has to be. You know, it's like getting a blood transplant.
And would you call for a new charter revision commission immediately becoming mayor?
I like the strong mayor form of charter. I championed it when it came out the first time with Kerry Perry. I championed it when it came out again. I initiated the petition to have them address charter revision the last time. I'm the one that sent out petitions. Even though I like the charter the way it is not up to me to adopt the charter. That's up to the residents of the city of Hartford. If they want a charter revision, then by all means, let's have at it. It's supposed to happen every 10 years anyway.
Can you, I don't mean to cut you off, unfortunately we've run out of time, we've gone so much tonight. Can you just tell the viewers how they can reach your campaign, your website, a phone number, anything at all that they can contact you?
There's two points of contact. Well, actually, there's several points of contact. You know, if you want to follow what we're doing, of course, you know, you can hit us up on Twitter, and we'll send you out all of the tweets. We're on Facebook, McCauley for Mayor 2011 on Facebook. There's J. Stay McCauley on Facebook, and then, of course, there's our website at McCauleyforMayor.com. It is the single most comprehensive website of any of the campaigns. There's got to be at least 40 hours of video and information there. You could lose your job because you're staying at home getting up to speed on what we're doing. So McCauleyforMayor.com, because you deserve more than a 30-second soundbite.
Thank you. Thank you to the viewers for watching these past 4 weeks for the candidates for mayor for the Democratic Party, and beginning next week we'll be interviewing the candidates for treasurer. Thank you and good evening.